What is up, guys? Sweets on the boat here. Today I'm going to show you I can go from this fender to this fender. I'm going to make some fender covers, so let's get started. Alright guys, so what you need is a bit fabric. I'm using a little stretchy fabric, so it's going to be nice and snug around the fenders. I'm also going to use little locks here to keep that line secured, and also the line or rope itself. Of course, you need a sewing machine and a pair of scissors. I'm using a Singer heavy-duty sewing machine. Had a tension of around 5, so I thought that was pretty good. Higher tension started pulling that stretched fabric a little bit, but other than that, straight seam and have a length of 4 on it. Just have the ordinary needle which I had when I made my canvas, and also same thread. Right, let's get going. First of all, try to find somewhere that you won't be interrupted. Yeah, okay, so let's get going. So we have fabric here, gonna measure it out. And trying to find also which way it is stretching the most, as I want it to stretch and be nice and snug around the fender and not in the length. I'm just measuring with my eyesight right now. I'm not using any measurements, and I want the length of the fabric to be more or less exactly the same as the circumference of the fender, and the length I'm doing is about covering the length of the inflated area of the fender. So I'm doing now, for some reason, is to cut up some corners. I don't understand why I'm doing that. I think it was I was trying to make it nice and snug around the parts that are become a little bit more narrow on the fenders. So I need to rethink this. Try to think another thing. So let's just hide that one and start again with attempt number 2. So same here, about the length is about the inflated area of the fender, and the width of the fabric I'm cutting is about the circumference of the fender, because when you're gonna get that seam going, you're gonna push it a little bit together, and that will create a little bit of stretch, and it's gonna be nice and snug up against the fender. Right, mistake number 2 is that I started to sewing this little crease there, the little fold. I shouldn't have done that. I should have put the string in from the beginning, as I just noticed more or less that I need string on the upper and the lower end of this fender cover. So right now I think I have needle in the right position, so the needle as close as possible to that line there. Right side, that side's done. Got that line in there, so I'm gonna measure it out. Testing again the length there, that I'm happy with that, just to understand how much I need to sew the other one. Mistake number 3 here is that I cut this line a little bit too short, so the circumference of the rope will actually be smaller than the circumference of the fender. So I'm compensating that to be able to get it on the fender by having a longer line on the other side. Right, again here, just sewing that, and whoops, something happened here. Yeah, mistake number 4 is that I had too high RPM on the needle without the fabric actually going through the machine. So that blocks up the thread underneath. So I need to cut that away. But hey, we make mistakes, we learn, we adapt, and perhaps we come out a little bit more knowledgeable after that. And that is somewhat my strategy, or my method I'm using when I'm doing stuff. Right, doing it again. Get it nice and snug up against that thread there. Right, we're done with that part. Cutting off some excessive lines there and measuring it up again. Looks pretty good. And as you can see, the circumferences are more or less the same, and that is when I create that seam, which I'm lining out right now. That will make it nice and snug around the fender. Right, got that going, and also try to align this, but the problem with fabric that's a little bit stretchy is that the upper and lower fabric that you try to sew together will move independently a little bit. So I actually ended up with an offset about 1/4 inch, which in my book, it's pretty good. Right moment of truth, putting it the right side out and putting it on the fender, and securing my lines there just to check it out how it looks. So I'm actually really happy with that result of just doing it more or less on freehand. So right now I need to put those little locks in the proper way. So I have two lines is going to go into one lock, and this is a pretty tight lock. I didn't want the one that actually has the two 2 ports in it. This is a 1-port lock. I'm gonna have it in the description which part I used. So that makes it a little bit more tighter, and you need to push that in with a screwdriver. Creating a knot there and cutting off the excessive string there will make it nice. Now to some comments about the solution is that I have these locks and put a knot on those ropes. That can actually get caught up on your slip or something when you're moving your boat. So thinking what I'm gonna do here is to snug that in, put it inside the cover, and hopefully that won't be caught on stuff when I'm maneuvering my boat. On the upper side, doesn't really matter as you have a string holding the fender, but perhaps it would be good to tuck that away as well. Right, pretty happy with that result. This is what it's gonna look like. And another thing, these little locks have a little spring in them, and I think they probably would rust in a maritime environment. So keep that in mind so you don't get rust stains on your gel coat. Another way to solve this is to use Velcro. Perhaps I will try that as well, but I like the solution. I'm gonna go with that. Right guys, that is it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video, subscribe, hit that notification so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll see you in the next one.